Flashy cars, fast nights, and the finest luxuries are the perfect description of the Hollywood dream. And for this Instagram playboy, who also happens to be a vice president, it is reality. All the way from Malabo to Malibu, Teodoro Nguema Obiang Mangwe is a full-time playboy whose side gig is being the vice president of Equatorial Guinea, or so his lifestyle would have you think. Despite being the third largest oil-producing country in Africa, it doesn't take a full scope audit to know that Equatorial Guinea's vice president's lifestyle isn't funded by his less than $100,000 salary. No, it comes from a long history of family feuds and being the favorite. After all, nothing says "I love you" in a dictatorship like an executive appointment from father to son. Equatorial Guinea's second-in-command is the prince of an empire that is founded on oil profits. And here's everything you need to know about Teodoro Teddy Nguema, vice president and professional playboy. Who exactly is this Instagram playboy/vice president? The slick-haired Teodoro Nguema Obiang Mangwe, known by his high-rolling celebrity friends and escorts as Teodorin, was born on the 25th of June 1968. To the current longest-serving president of any African country, and the world at large, Teodoro Obiang, president of Equatorial Guinea, and his first wife Constancia Mangwe. Teodorin was born years before his father's successful coup and ascension into the position of president, but that didn't mean his life wasn't affluent. He went to a few high-status schools, including the l'École des Roches in Normandy, which is a French private school, and the Pepperdine University in Malibu, California, where he dropped out after 5 months of his enrollment. The senior Teodoro has a lot of children, most of whom are unknown to the public thanks to his copious affairs over the years. But of all of his offspring, there is no debate that Teddy is the favored son. Like an actual prince, he has lived and grown into his father's steps and has been part of the executive political arm of Equatorial Guinea for longer than should be acknowledged. While it is a bit difficult to imagine when he had the time to learn the ropes of leading a country, in between his trips to Las Vegas, Nepal, Los Angeles, and Paris, to mention a few. President Teodoro obviously had no doubts in naming his his vice president, in 2012. Teddy Nguema is the golden child, set to take over his father's authoritarian rule of Equatorial Guinea whenever the man passes on to the great beyond. But with the lifestyle the heir to the throne has in his father's lifetime, it may be safe to say that the future for Equatorial Guineans looks no different than its current state: the presidential family in Equatorial Guinea. If there is one accurate relation to be drawn between the lifestyle of the Instagram playboy and the country he presides over as vice president, it is the way he reflects the wealth available in Equatorial Guinea. Unfortunately, that wealth doesn't spread across the national population, remaining in the hands of a few select people. Despite being classified as a developing, emerging upper-middle-income economy, Equatorial Guinea's high-income trends from oil, its primary moneymaker, and agriculture are not reflected in the living conditions within the country. The World Bank reported the income per capita in Equatorial Guinea to be $13,350 PPP in 2020. With a population of 1.4 million people, one would expect the citizens to be living in affluence like the leaders obviously do. But that's not the case. Over 70% of the population live in poverty, and Teodoro Teddy Nguema is the furthest from the poverty line. After taking over from his uncle, current President Teodoro made promises of better conditions to the people of Equatorial Guinea. 4 decades later, and the dictatorship in the country is so delirious that there is no independent radio or television to divulge information accurately and honestly to the people. Unsurprising considering the fact that the flippant electoral processes in the country have made it such that the lowest win margin of its longest-serving and only president is 93.7%, and that was in the 2016 presidential election. More like position renewal, where the voter turnout was, wait for it, 93.7%. Teodorin's journey to wealth. With such a stronghold in the government, wealth has had a long-lasting reign in the Obiang family, and Teodorin has spent a substantial proportion of time holding the power reins in the Republic of Equatorial Guinea while multitasking and throwing a party on the 303-foot Tatouche yacht, which was rented for $700,000. Going by his Instagram lavish lifestyle, backed up with his favorite luxury living hashtag, Teodoro does not have a lot of concerns, least of all being his political ascension. Although Teodorin was already wielding an ample level of authority in the Equatorial Guinea administration, one would think that such a deceptive being would be restrained from the pedals of such a crucial position. But the reverse became the case when Teodorin was gracefully ushered into power after his father's re-election in April of 2016. In the year 2005, Teodorin was reported to become the next vice president of the country, after which he got the seat of a second vice president in charge of defense and security under the PDGE party in May of 2012. Prevalent reports came to reality on June 17, 2016, as Teodorin was elevated incumbently to the post of the vice president, according to a decree by his father, unabashedly taking the position of the former vice president, Ignacio Milamtang. All the affluence in these positions has done nothing short of aiding his reputation as a kleptocrat and a lavish spender. Before becoming the second in command, Teddy had been bestowed with several administrative and executive government seats under his father's administration. He served as an advisor to the presidency in the 1990s and was crowned as the Minister of Forests by his father in 1998, a chain that has led to his appointment in 2012 and subsequent 9 years of rule, and counting, as the vice president of one of the highest-earning countries on the African continent. Assistant Attorney General Caldwell, in a statement from the U.S. Justice Department in 2014, aptly tagged Teodoro's ascent to wealth as relentless embezzlement and extortion. That statement is supported by years of evidence against the Playboy vice president, revealing his money-spinning timber trade and utilization of the esteemed resource of the native soil, oil, for his egotistic gains. Teodorin has reportedly coerced timber organizations into paying outrageous amounts if they were interested in running their business in the country. Approximately 10% of the wood value from the renowned timber organizations was allocated to private accounts that Teodorin was overseeing. This, of course, included exporting fees, exorbitant taxes, functioning fees, and many other bizarre requirements that were just enough to fund his lavish spending and keep his multiple luxury cars well-oiled. The oil sector remains the main focus of extortion, as Teodorin continues intentionally mount construction contracts and personally accumulate millions of dollars while at it. All these and a lot more that has been documented in thousands of reports have largely pumped up his abundant wealth, which he enjoys spending on engraved diamond watches and trips across the globe in his Gulfstream 5 and 15-seat cargo van that carries his Louis Vuitton luggage. The lavish ultra-Hollywood lifestyle. Teodorin is known famously for being a scattergood, and this has invited condemnation and sanctioning by several international communities. He occasionally engages the use of the picture-video publishing social network Instagram to display his wealth, conveniently ignoring the abject poverty of his subjects, of course. Among his well-known indulgences include the acquiring of Michael Jackson memorabilia, which includes a $275,000 crystal-studded glove that the singer had worn in his 1980s Bad tour. He managed to keep this piece safe from his lawsuits after he was sanctioned in 2014 by the U.S. government for embezzlement of public funds. He also purchased a century gold vermeil elephant previously owned by Yves Saint Laurent, which he allegedly bought for $467,000. His private jet is worth about $38 million. He is the proud owner of a €25 million 6th-floor home in Paris, $30 million splashed on his Malibu mansion, which included $59,850 rugs, a $58,000 home theater, and a pair of wine glasses that cost $1,734.17. Numerous opulent watches, engraved of course, an art collection in his French villa valued at $22 million, tons of luxury cars and motorbikes, and many other extravagances are just a glimpse at his spending bill. With his audacious and utterly corrupt lifestyle, Teodorin has attracted the opinions of many far and wide. On the global front, his behaviors and actions have been deeply regarded as impudent and irresponsible. According to a former U.S. intelligence official abreast with Teodorin's constant scandals, Teodorin is an unstable and reckless idiot. But according to self-interested politicians in the mother country, like the foreign minister of Equatorial Guinea, Simeon Oyono Esono Angwe, Teodorin can engage in these deluxe pleasures as he chooses. The minister reportedly named them internal affairs, and this protected image is by no means cheap. In efforts to make sure that Equatorial Guinea stays in the good grace of the authorities at Washington, D.C., the executive family has previously hired a team of American lobbyists and PR specialists, including Lanny Davis, who was a former special counsel to President Bill Clinton and reportedly earned $1 million a year for his PR services to the Obiang family. As of 2011, the Equatorial Guinea government was retaining Corvus Communications for $15,000 per month to mail out news releases highlighting heartwarming news about Equatorial Guinea. On his own, Teodorin paid the firm $55,000 per month to polish his image. Considering how much of his lifestyle he exposes by himself on Instagram, there are a lot of questions to be asked about how good of a job they're doing. Conclusion. Teodoro's carefree and extra-lavish lifestyle has, however, not escaped the eye of international laws. Seeing as the national law of Equatorial Guinea is basically bridged on a father-son relationship, it comes as no surprise that there is little to no protest in his home country. But Teodoro has not been well embraced by international law in certain areas. France, Brazil, and the United States are some of the countries that have publicly admonished, sanctioned, and even penalized the activities of Instagram's Playboy vice president. These penalties have resulted in Teodorin facing several lawsuits, which have led to the seizure of a large number of his properties and the use of his funds for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines for citizens of Equatorial Guinea. With an estimated net worth of over $300 million, it is unlikely that the penalties and lawsuits have chipped at the 52-year-old vice president's bank tank. From Malabo to Malibu, this Instagram playboy is a vice president that may soon become the president. His lifestyle may be lavish, but considering the source of his wealth, it is rather unappealing. That was all about the lavish playboy life of Teodorin. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave it a like and subscribe to our channel for more awesome content.